Continuing my pattern of exploring lesser-known locales, I have made my way to Charlton's Pass, a lesser-known area on a wealthy trader's land. I come here with permission to uncover the dark history of this hellish place. Upon this property, something horrid happened. In the early 1900s, an arc of stone extending from the earth was the hanging grounds of a deranged killer, selecting his victims based on their likeness to an image, a work of art he acquired during his youth. He believed their sacrifice would bring him closer to his art. His motives only make sense in his own mind. In total, 34 people were hanged here, both males and females from all races. The more I inquire about the man involved, the more questions that arise. Being born in the mid-1800s, the man in question remains nameless. Not in question or legend, but he was legitimately born without a name. As to the reasoning, it was stated that his mother believed her pregnancy to be possessed and refused to give her son a name. In childhood, he was subjected to abuse and often forced to stand in the river for hours, or remain tied up in the cellar. Several members of the community would sacrifice lambs to God in order to gain protection from the boy. As he grew, he became quiet, never speaking, borderline mute. His first kill was his only childhood friend, a girl by the name of Susan Heinrich, whom he bound and carried to Charlton's Pass and hung by the neck, watching her struggle till death. He would keep up this sick pattern till 34 people swing hanging in this horrid location. Upon its discovery, a lynch mob led by the killer's mother would find and shoot the man on sight, burning his body, then setting flame to Charlton's Pass, believing it to be a gateway to hell. It remains blackened and overgrown with moss to this day. Sitting here, it sends a chill up my back to recount the story, but I must admit to having no real fear of this place. Sitting here, I contemplate the all too common theme of family violence when inspiration strikes. And without further ado, I present to you tonight's tale of despair, the Marrigrim Seed. Amongst the light carriers, I stray and stagger into the endless sea of their gaze. It sees me. Within them and from them, I am wilted. Myriads of molted maidens await me within her broken limbs. To the depth of agony, my heart sinks into her careless whisper. Realm of horror, realm of splendor, bring forth thine womb, whose warmth I shall bask, whose chowder I shall smother in darkness. Anthems of angels smother within the channels of legions, to the forgotten voids of egregious gods. One in the aeons of eternal agony grasps at the throat of all living things, taking from them the breath of life deep within. Gather amongst the hills, into the deep grass where the dead dwell, and where the righteous lay buried, withered, and gray. Only poem written by the Marrigrim family, dated November 4th, 1609. It wasn't long into his third year at the firm when Arlen brought the property, 50 acres with a large mansion and cemetery. The cemetery was old and unused for years. It was overgrown with hogweed and wild wheat that obscured the hidden nature of this dreaded place. Sure, in his decision, Arlen moves his family in as he remodels the mansion. This is perfect. It's old, but we can fix it. No more apartment life for us, he says to himself as his family unpacks. We can fix it all here, he thinks, remembering the turmoil of his marriage. I can get her the help she needs. His wife was a very troubled yet loving woman, neurotic with severe ADHD, and almost no impulse control. Her attacks would come randomly, as she became wide-eyed and hyper-beaming with joy or withering in fear. Through all her struggles, he loves her, seeing the beautiful woman that lies beneath, the real travesty being the rarity of her appearance. She loves her children and tries to hide her condition as much as possible, but they knew their mother was ill. He finally bought her ancestral home, the Marrigrim family province. It was his ultimate gift to her. Here, she could be alone, relax, and heal. There was always a wildness to her eyes, harboring a withering glimpse of humanity's satiated hunger. His children had this as well, though he chose to ignore it. He could never fully embrace it. No man wants to admit there's a fallacy within his family, but deep down, Arlen knew they were withered, but he would never dare admit it. Despite their unique nature, he loved what he created, and in turn, hoped they would love him back. Optimism is to him as the opium is to the addict. He needs his escape. Only the chains of man would dare restrain the blasphemous seed growing beneath his fertile soils. Despite all the love a father can bear, he is destined, as we all are, to the inevitable downfall of darkness. As the days passed, disturbances in the cemetery occurred, becoming more and more frequent. It began with vandalism, then grave desecration, then grave robbery. Arlen investigated the scene, finding corpses ripped up, bones scattered, and to his surprise, the corpses were surprisingly fresh and unembalmed. Putrid to the nostrils, the stench of human innards, baking in the hot summer sun, was nearly unbearable. Bite marks and claw wounds were visible on the corpses, and to Arlen's horror, some of the female occupants were violated sexually. He vomited as he placed the corpses back into their graves. He contemplated calling the police, but his wife already had a sketchy history with them, and for some reason, he felt an overwhelming desire to cover up the atrocious act. Arlen was flooded with guilt for his indecision on involving the police. Why could he not report this? He felt like a terrified puppet on a string. That night, he would be awakened by the terrified screams of his wife. As he ran throughout the manor, he would find her encapsulated in a red, bloody aura. Then, without warning, she vanished. Panicked, he would find her asleep in their bed. How, in God's name? No, God has nothing to do with this. Then he heard it, the guttural musings of ancient stirrings, the caliber and number immeasurable, and the influence unbearable. Hunger. Under the graveyard where the rotten and restless dwell, the decay of man lingers, festering into an amalgamation of gluttony. Under these hallowed grounds, the satiation of inner desire trembles at the feet of obscenity. Under this abomination of human waste lies the seed of Marrigrim blood, the origin of twisted breeds and family debauchery. For 20,000 centuries, the cursed blood of Marrigrim began in guttural roars and primitive urge, long before they were given proper name. They now lay here beneath the tainted soil of human decency, waiting and seething for their next feeding frenzy. Arlen doesn't know. He slumbers, haunted by the imagery of this estate as the ire of his family grows, as the hunger grows within them. The ground rumbles with an insatiable rage, awakening Arlen from a deep sleep. He is thrown against the windows, only to see his family standing in the cemetery, surrounded by the red ore, as corpses dig and claw from beneath the ground in a sickening orgy of debauchery and gore. Rising into the air, the aura surrounds the manor as Arlen's family screams in glee. Deep inside their bodies, the seed grows, changing them, mutating their features, giving them features of eternal horror. The cheeks expand as the teeth grow. The brow ridge vanishes, giving way to sluggish features, as the vocal cords and jaw muscles expand. As they feast upon the crawling dead, the corpses procreate in evil that resides within the one place Arlen fears most, within the one place he holds dear, within the womb of his beloved wife. Arlen becomes a memory, a fading facade for his former family. Within them no longer dwells the spark of humanity. They are now absent of any and all resemblance to mortal kin. With no other options, Arlen abandons his family for seclusion in the nearby mountainside. As the decades pass, the aura grows as the Marrigrim family flourishes in their macabre nest of blood. A lethargic red mist of death surrounds the manor, engulfing those within a thick mirror of constant death. Spawning from the womb of abominable lust, the seed of Marrigrim grows, lurching in wait for its untimely arrival. Tearing and crawling from the womb, the seed bites and tears the uterus, spilling thick brown blood across the infertile soil. It claws, it screams, it coos a destructive lullaby, lying in wait for those foolish or depraved enough to stumble upon the manor's grounds. As the decades pass, locals tell of the crazed hermit who lives on the mountainside, cackling with the sinister echoes of his haunted memories. To a dying man, what logic does reality hold? Where does a man stealing life find meaning in his limited breath? Some find peace, even hope, yet some find the ultimate sensation of freedom. No longer bound to responsibility or the expectation of life, these men live as free as the parting wind blows. Degrading the annals of his memory, the howls of his former family linger through the depressions of the mountainside as the passage of time has laid his mortality at the feet of frenzied death. In his ravages and deepening ramparts, he found his calling. In the unparalleled freedom of succumbing death, he found purpose. In his old age, he should have expired years ago, yet he lingers, thanks to the salts lying deep within the mountain soil. Burning the soil upon a molten flame releases the petrified salts that scream and sear with the harbored seal of preservation. Rummaging amongst the mountainside for decades, the former father finds ancient slabs adorned with rituals of the forgotten priest of St. Varley. Glowing under his worn fingers, the foreign etchings rumble, sending their foreign tongues to his harbored thought, directing him in the practice of petrification. Guided by the lost Varley, he begins his preparation. Grinding the mountain salts into powder, he rubs them along his body as the minerals shine with a deadly hue. The lost Varley, in their dying days, laid upon the mountain's earth and crystallized, becoming the pure mountain salt. These salts spread upon the rain, soaking into the nearby plants, giving way to the dajin leaves, a severely toxic plant whose tea petrifies one from the inside out. In their time, the priest of Varley committed debaucherous crimes upon the dead. Some claim them to still live in hidden valleys and shadowy lairs. Crust-filled and wilted, his innards began to mummify as he drinks upon the toxic tea. Sitting in the baking sun for hours, he feels the burning of the sun reflecting from the remnants of the priests. As the powdered salt gleams with a sickening horror, his nostrils flare at the salted smell of lingering death, as the sweet pungent odor of past rituals swirls in the mountain air. Stretching and pruning his skin, it turns a dark, rotten purple as his eyes smear to a deep yellow. Sitting upon the peak of the salted hills, he peers into the distance of Marrigrim Manor, revolted by the sight of his former family. At night, when the clouds are scarce and the dew is ripe, legend says you can hear the voice of a broken madness echoing across the plains in a saddened laughter. If you are unfortunate enough to hear it, locals claim you are now marked to be hunted and carry the last remnants of the Marrigrim Seed.